I am here with my dear friend Buzz the Bee from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. You are going to want to keep a close eye on the weather today, am I right? And let me tell you, it's time now for your local weather report, brought to you by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Let's buzz on over to the Main Street Media TV Weather Center.
From the Tennessee Valley Weather Channel, this is your weather on Main Street.
Happy Wednesday. I'm Kelly Rawson here in the Tennessee Valley Weather Center. We are waking up to a little bit of cloud cover, but today will be partly cloudy with a wind out of the south as well, blowing up to 15 to 20 miles an hour. So it will be a little bit breezy, but that's going to bring us some warmer temperatures for this afternoon. Yesterday was fantastic. Today, even a few degrees warmer into the lower 70s, maybe even some mid 70s out there. Again, mixture of sunshine and clouds, but clouds will start to thicken up heading into the later part of the afternoon, then into the evening, ahead of a very minimal rain chance that we have. Just a few showers, if they even hold themselves together, moving through again mainly after dinner time and then into the overnight for your Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Again, not a lot of moisture to work with, but the chance of just a few spotty showers remains on the board. Otherwise, we will just see cloud cover pick up overnight and into your Thursday morning. Temperatures starting off in the 40s on Thursday will only make it into the upper 50s thanks to that cold front. Again, nothing significant in terms of any rainfall, but we will see temperatures cool off about 15 degrees between Wednesday and Thursday. We warm up slightly back into the lower 60s for your Friday, and their next rain chance for southern middle Tennessee doesn't come until Monday of next week.
Thank you for that update. Tune in each day on Mornings on Main Street for an up-to-date weather report brought to you by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. All of their contact information is below. Have a great day. Welcome to Mornings on Main Street. I'm your host, Stefanie Miller. Topic of the day, healthy eating. And it's never too late to make improvements to support healthy aging, and healthy eating is part of it. By eating nutrient-dense foods and maintaining an active lifestyle, you can even mitigate some risks of heart disease and cancer, as well as other changes related to muscle and bone mass, such as osteoporosis. And luckily for us, today we hear from a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care specialist with TriStar Summit Medical Center. She will not only expand on healthy foods and what we need, she talks about the My Food Plate and ways to make food fun for the entire family. But first this morning, let's get a check of our headlines.
Hello, here's the latest news and weather from Main Street Media TV. Owners Sheena and Matt Harble have combined frozen treats and live entertainment with the opening of Honky Tonk Creamery in Mount Juliet, bringing the national Lower Broadway vibe to the community. The Clarksville Police Department is currently investigating a burglary at Leah's Tobacco and Brew on Fort Campbell Boulevard, seeking public assistance to identify the suspect from surveillance footage. Tennessee City's Friendship Baptist Church narrowly escaped the devastating fire, thanks to Good Samaritans. The suspected arson is under investigation, with no suspects identified yet. Tennessee Secretary of State Tree Hargett alerts residents about a new email spoofing scam, posing as a personal message from the secretary, urging vigilance against such deceptive practices. A kayaker narrowly escapes death on the Caney Fork River after capsizing, surviving the freezing temperatures and intense currents by clinging to a limb and calling for help.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Welcome back to Mornings on Main Street. You hear it time and time again from the time that you're little all throughout your life. It is incredibly important what you put into your body. And to expand on this, we have Elise Thompson. She is a dietitian with TriStar Hospitals. First off, thanks for your time.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here.
Expand more on your role with TriStar.
So I am a registered dietitian, and I'm also a certified diabetes care and education specialist, which means that I specialize in different therapeutic diets for people who have things like heart disease, kidney disease, renal disease, but I specialize in diabetes. So that's a large part of what I do. I work primarily outpatient, doing sit-down educations with people, about an hour-long consultation to help them work on meal planning, weight loss, diabetes education, and I do sometimes work inpatient in the hospital, and that includes things like tube feedings in the ICU, or that might be malnutrition screens in the ER, where we're screening to see if somebody is having any signs or symptoms of undernourishment or malnutrition.
Today we're focusing purely on the diet, because again, you go into a fitness facility and you hear, oh, you need to work out, you need to move, but that is only part of what you need to do, and it starts in the kitchen.
Yep.
Talk to us about what we need to be doing in the kitchen to provide the fuel that we need for our bodies.
So going back to when we were talking about the cheap gas versus the expensive gas. So the expensive gas, the type of food that our body was made to run on. When we think about what makes a healthy food healthy, we generally think about two main categories. We think about micronutrients. Does this food have vitamins and minerals to help me nourish my body well? And then we think macronutrients. Does this food help me feel and stay full? And the two foods that help us feel and stay full, one is protein, and two is fiber. So good sources of dietary protein are going to be found in things like meats, especially leaner meats like chicken, turkey, and fish. Beef and pork also have protein in them, but a little bit more fat. Eggs, specifically the whites of eggs, is where the protein is found. The yolk is where the fat is found.
Okay.
Nuts and seeds are good plant-based sources of protein. Beans and legumes are good sources of plant-based protein. Dairy, so things like milks or yogurts. Now cheese also has some protein in there. And so that's protein. And then when we think of fiber, oftentimes people don't even know what fiber is.
Guilty, because I'm like, okay, tell me.
Yeah. So if you picture taking a celery stalk and ripping it down the middle, that stringy stuff in the middle that you see is fiber. So it's the non-digestible part of plants that our body uses. It helps our bellies feel full. It also kind of acts like the janitor of our bloodstream. He sweeps up that bad cholesterol and sweeps it out the back door. He feeds that healthy gut bacteria in our bodies. And so good sources of dietary fiber, again, think plants. So non-starchy vegetables, so like a big salad, broccoli, green beans. Again, beans and legumes are good sources of plant-based fiber. Fruits, nuts and seeds, again, are good sources of fiber. So when you think, is this a healthy food? I want you to run it through the lens of, does it have protein or does it have fiber? And if the answer to either of those questions is yes, well then yeah, that's a healthy food. That could belong in your daily diet. But if the answer to either of those questions is no, then that's something that we refer to as a special occasion food.
Oh.
It's a food that maybe we either don't eat every day, or when I eat it, I'm mindful of how much I put into my body, because I recognize that that is the cheap gas, and I don't want to run my entire car on the cheap gas, right?
100%.
Yes. So, and generally speaking, I like to follow the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
Where 80% of the foods that we put into our body are either good sources of protein or fiber or both.
Okay.
Because I want to be a generally healthful person. But food was also meant to be enjoyed. Holidays are a good time to talk about that. Parties are a good time, but in the right size portions. Like take birthday cake, for example. Is there protein in birthday cake?
No.
Is there fiber in birthday cake?
Unfortunately not.
So we would call that a special occasion food. On my birthday, absolutely I'm going to have some birthday cake. But am I going to have birthday cake for breakfast, birthday cake for lunch, and birthday cake for dinner? No, because then I'm not going to be a very healthful person. So keeping special occasion foods in the right size portions and really putting a dietary emphasis on protein and fiber is what builds a healthy lifestyle.
You know, we have some fruit in front of us. You haven't mentioned fruit just yet, but I do know, and from what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, you should have fruit earlier in the day because of the sugar that's in fruit. Am I wrong on that?
So anytime that we eat, fruit is technically a carbohydrate, and anytime we eat carbohydrates as a blood sugar dietitian, I'm always mindful about how that's going to impact our blood sugar levels throughout the day. So whether it's in the morning or whether it's at night, I would always recommend carbohydrates raise our blood sugar like balloons. And when we buy balloons, we usually put that weight thing that we put to the bottom of our balloons, which helps keep our balloons from flying away. So anytime we eat carbohydrates, I would always encourage you to marry that with a protein. So if I am eating something like apple, maybe a little bit of apple and peanut butter, or maybe an apple and some string cheese, but not necessarily eating the apple by itself, whether it's for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner. Instead, having a nice, good balance to go with that will give you beautifully stable blood sugar levels throughout the day, instead of having that energy crash like an hour and a half after you eat. I want to say it was 2010 is when they transitioned especially away from the pyramid and more towards my plate, where instead of the food pyramid, because oftentimes people didn't understand that, they actually switched to using a picture of a plate to show how it should be divvied. And when we think about how a plate should be divvied, oftentimes in America, the way that we tend to split our plate is half meat and half potatoes, or starch of some kind, right? Where it's like we have half potatoes, half rice, half pasta, and then half like beef, chicken, or pork, or whatever. And that's how we fix our plate in America. And that's not exactly the way that our body was designed to run on. So when you think about building your plate, filling up your plate with half of those non-starchy vegetables, really high in fiber, really high in micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals. And then when you picture this half over here, picture making a quarter of your plate a lean source of protein, so things like chicken, turkey, fish, beef, tofu, and then doing things like your starch over here. A good rule of thumb that I use, if we're not like super physically active, like let's say I'm just working a desk job, hold your hand like this. If it could fit in one handful without spilling out, that's an appropriate size portion of something like starches for you.
Okay.
Now the problem at a mealtime, the problem is in America, we like to fill our whole plate up with starch, right? Like the whole plate full of pasta or the whole plate full of rice. And oftentimes that's too much. So that's usually in America where we tend to overdo our portions and where there's opportunity to shift to doing more of those non-starchy vegetables. The studies show that about 90% of Americans are not getting the recommended 3 to 5 servings of non-starchy vegetables per day, which is what the CDC recommends that we do. So that can be a good opportunity if you're like, that's me, I'm in the 90%, to really say, like, how can I incorporate more into that, whether that's adding a side salad on the side of my spaghetti night, or whether that's, I'm a big fan, I'm the queen of Lazy Town. So I love those bags, those dollar bags of frozen vegetables. I'll throw one of those in the microwave and just dump, a good portion of that onto half of my plate. So it doesn't have to be easy, it just has to be intentional.
So that brings me then to fresh versus frozen.
Ooh, that's a good question. So fresh is always a really great option, especially when the food is in season. So oftentimes in the summertime, we have foods that are delightfully in season. So they're cheaper when they're fresh. They're fresh, especially if they're locally grown. That's amazing. Or if you're going to a farmer's market. But what I love is frozen is a very oftentimes underlooked and great option when it comes to vegetables, because what they do is they harvest those vegetables at peak of season when they were in season, and then flash freeze them on site, so they don't have to add any extra preservatives to them to maintain, and it locks in all of those nutrients so they're not oxidizing while they're sitting on the grocery store waiting for somebody to pick them to go home with them.
How can you make food fun?
That's a really good question. So when it comes to picky kids, remember, sometimes it takes up to 10 or 11 times of offering the same food over and over again for the child to accept it. So don't feel like one time and nope, we're never gonna try that again. because oftentimes it just takes repetitive things. It is helpful to pair challenge foods with a safe food, with a food that you know that kid already likes, because then they know that there's something on the plate that or on the table that they will be able to eat. When they go to school, the mashed potatoes, for example, are in this beautiful ball shape, which can be very aesthetically pleasing to a kid. So bring out fun plates, bring out fun shapes. And my favorite thing too is involve the child in food preparation. If you remember when you were doing Thanksgiving growing up and you were in charge of the sweet potato casserole, for example, that was your favorite dish.
Yes, it was.
Because you helped make it. And so it's a lot easier to turn something down if you didn't see how it was made, if it looks kind of gross, versus if you help put it together, you're like, wait, I want to eat that just because my blood, sweat, and tears went into that casserole. So as much as you can for age appropriate, involve your kids in making that food, because it will increase their acceptance of it. Even if it's as young as toddler, letting them help set the table can be a big part of inviting them into meal preparation, or helping wash the vegetables. That's a really easy task too. I always say if a kid is in double digits, there are age-safe knives that they can be using, and so educating them on knife safety and showing them how to help cut some of the easier to cut stuff can be a great way, and then helping them watch the pan or watch the water boiling or something can be another great way to invite them into meal preparation so that they have a better acceptance of that food.
Where can we get more information if we want to educate ourselves?
That is a great question. So I am here at Summit Medical Center, and so you can give us a call or find us on socials. I'm sure you'll link that in the description.
I can do that.
Our phone number is 615-316-4585. If you're welcome to give us a call, we can get a referral from your doctor. My name is Elise Thompson. You can find me on socials, Elise M. Thompson. If you want to find more information specifically about all my materials that I make myself. But if you want to get more information that's general nutrition, the CDC has a lot of really great stuff. The American Diabetes Association, if you have diabetes, has great information. The American Heart Association has great information. So depending on what it is that your specific nutrition needs are, I encourage you to look in those specific places. But again, the CDC has the My Plate stuff, so if you have kids, that's a really great resource to help get more age-appropriate, healthy nutrition education materials too.
Elise, thank you so much. Really do appreciate your time. Hopefully we can visit again, because you have a lot of valuable information I think people need to hear.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Stick with us here at Mornings on Main Street. We'll be right back.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
There is another component that could help improve our health, and that is positive thinking. Believe it or not, that is something that we can all do to help improve our personal health. Now, at hopkinsmedicine.org, there is an article that talks about steps that we can take to improve our outlook and help to reduce our risk of cardiovascular disease. I'll just share a little bit of this today. The article talks about simply smiling more. Also, practice reframing. The scenario they give is, instead of stressing about a traffic jam, you can look at appreciating the fact that you can even afford a car, and then work on building resiliency. So this is just a couple of tips that they give there in the article and things that we can do. I wanted to share that with you this morning. As always, thanks for joining us here at Mornings on Main Street. We'll see you back here tomorrow.